All right, so excited about the week. Great opportunity to kind of get back going. Obviously, having a win is always the goal. We kind of see out every single week when it comes to our preparation. So building upon last week is always clean those mistakes and get ready to rock and roll for these Colts.
How much fun did you have calling that game?
I had a lot of fun after the game. I think in the midst of it, one thing I learned was that the game goes by so much faster when you're calling it because I'm just so focused on the next 3 to 4 calls, or the next series of drives. Well, normally I kind of make some notes, give Frank some suggestions. I'm watching the defense, just seeing how those guys are playing, getting ready for our next offensive opportunity. But it was a great win, great team win from a standpoint of us all kind of playing together, offense, defense, special teams. So winning is always fun.
What opportunity does this present for Bryce and the other receivers? Cole's kind of banged up in the secondary. What have you seen from that defense on tape?
Yeah, I mean, numbers are numbers. The tape is the tape. But I think when it comes to this league, week in and week out, I expect to have everybody's best. They have great coaches like we do. They have really good players like we do as well. So preparing to kind of more so focus on ourselves and our improvements and ready for the opportunity to go against them.
What makes the defense that isn't as stout on the pass rush as some of the defense you faced this year?
Right.
How do you stay disciplined and not overdo some of the opportunities that will probably present themselves?
Yeah, I think you make it more about us again. I think when it comes to some of the issues we had last week and the previous weeks when it comes to protections, we got to do a better job at the point of contact when it comes to being firm, but also myself as a play caller for the first time, putting us in better spots, not trying to be too greedy sometimes when it comes to, 2nd and 10, 2nd and 12, trying to take shots, get the ball out of Bryce's hands a little bit faster. So I think it's a learning process for all of us kind of moving forward. But it's more about us than it is about our opponent. But we'll do a really good job of being locked in from a detailed standpoint and keep moving forward.
Thomas, what did it mean to you to see and hear how emotional Frank was when you got that game ball?
I mean, it was huge. I think, first of all, I had no idea he was talking about me anyway. And so I was kind of like one of the last guys coming in the locker room. Was normally, win or lose, I'm outside the locker room for the most part when the guys are coming in and just, shake everybody's hand, give everybody hugs before they kind of come in and listen to Frank's speech. So when he was talking, I'm thinking like he's about to give it to a different player. And so when he called my name, I was, almost kind of in freeze mode for a second. But I think just our relationship, our dynamic is continuing to grow from a day in, day out standpoint, and having the opportunity for him first and foremost to trust me to give me an opportunity for this job, like I said before, is huge. But then also, people rarely voluntarily give opportunity to call plays. I just haven't been around this. Normally, they've been forced to do it, which it was 100% his decision. So it means a whole lot to have the opportunity to do my role from a responsibility standpoint, help this team win as much as possible.
What's your philosophy in terms of helping occasionally with the tackles and protection, be it chips, keeping the tight end in, specifically in Icky's case?
Yeah, I mean, I would say just for everybody in general, anything that we have that's longer development plays on the field, whether it be some of those shot plays on normal D&D or 3rd and 6 plus, we always have chips built into it. So it's about us being able to have opportunities to protect the edges, but also, like I said before, making sure I have answers built in for Bryce to get rid of the ball if we do end up having pressure.
Thomas, your top 3 wide receivers are playing a ton, and typically in a Frank Reich offense, the ball spread around a lot. Why has that deviated maybe from what maybe you've done in the past or what he's done in the past?
As far as receivers playing a whole lot? Or?
Yeah, normally there's some sort of rotation. This has mostly been like a 3-man operation.
Well, I think it varies depending on how your team is built and the personnel. Obviously, where I came from, if you watch those games, those 3 receivers for the most part played the whole game, and there was no variation in personnel groupings when it comes to 12 and 13. So I think it's more based on less about our experiences in the past and more about who gives us the best opportunity to continue to stay in the rhythm of the game. And if those guys are playing well and fresh, there's really no need and sometimes to sub guys out. But it's all about trying to maximize the guys you have on game day.
With that said, we saw you use Thielen in the backfield a little bit. Yeah. Why is he good in that wrinkle?
I think it's about trying to change up tendencies. I think being able to kind of key in on him sometimes and stacks his bunches kind of gives high alerts for certain concepts that we have. So part of our process is every week building tendencies to break them. So showing you some on tape, give you something different the next week. Also kind of hide him from a standpoint of putting him in the backfield so people can't put hands on him, give him easy access from a route standpoint.
Your time working with Chuba.
Oh no, I was just going to follow up on that with him being as effective as he has been. How much do you think that affects the defense as opposed to maybe somebody who's less experienced or has less tape?
No, I think it depends on who you're playing, how they view him. I think regardless of your opponent, if you have success with certain players or certain schemes in general, their goal is to stop them. So it's about us doing a really good job of trying to figure out how to maximize our opportunities, put our guys in the best spots, like I said, to have success, but also play on their tendencies as well to kind of watching off from our previous games.
In your time working with Chuba, what's allowed him to be effective?
I mean, he has a dog mentality that he brings every single day to his preparation process for being locked in meetings. He is obviously a one-cut downhill runner, but he's kind of shown in the last few weeks his leadership skills when it comes to being a vocal leader on the sideline, keeping guys positive. But the most important thing is being a leader by example.
Is that downhill style a better fit for this offensive line?
I won't say that. I think it's more about playing off of what our guys do well and trying to find the best combination week in and week out when it comes to that rotation. No different than receivers and tight ends, tagging guys on specific plays to kind of get them in the game and get them involved. But also running back-wise, you want to keep those guys fresh so you can stay in attack mode for 4 quarters and also just keep those guys healthy throughout the season.
I know you guys are looking for a receiver, before the trade deadline didn't happen, but if looking ahead to the future beyond this year, adding a speed guy like you put a Tyreek Hill down in Miami and added that type player, how big is that, or how big of a missing piece is that from what this offense needs and what Bryce could use?
I think it's a really good question. I can't look past Thursday, though. So, I mean, when it comes to the rest of the season or the trade deadline or next season, that time will come when it comes. But I think it's more about us focusing on the guys that we currently have. And I think we have everybody we need right now when it comes to how we can attack down the field, have more explosive plays. Just going to try to continue to do a really good job of putting those guys in the spot to make plays for us.
Can you talk about Jonathan Mingo and what you like about his development so far?
Man, he's been a pro from day one. You talk about a rookie coming in. It's always going to be a learning curve for those guys when it comes to learning how this league operates, but also a brand new offense, brand new environment. He's been locked in from day one. So it's good to be able to see him kind of get activated down the field vertically some, make some plays for us, and try to find some ways to kind of move around more in the future to get the ball to him.
What's the toughest part of that rookie transition? I mean, what's the part that comes at him last?
I think it's obviously dependent upon who the player is, but I think the speed of the game, the fact that the volume of football kind of increases so much, because even from a coaching standpoint, going from being in college where I felt like I was all ball all day, but you still got to deal with academic meetings, still got to deal with recruiting, still dealing with parents. When you get here, it is all ball. So when it comes to the amount that you meet and talk about, walk through plays, practice a little bit different when it comes to that. But also sometimes guarding against those guys hitting the wall because the season is longer. There's more games in general, plus preseason. So I think it's about being able to keep those guys focused and locked in on day-to-day versus looking ahead to the next month or next week or next few games.
Thomas, after the game on Sunday, Bryce talked about how he relished that opportunity to have that game-winning drive. I'm curious, as the play caller, what was that like for you going into that final drive, knowing you really had one crack at it?
I mean, it's a huge confidence builder for me to have a guy that I know can win the game at any point. And also the fact that he never gets rattled, and if he does, he never shows it because I can't see or tell. And our thought process going into it was, at least mine was, we got about 6 minutes left in the game. I want to use as much time as possible, make this. And we probably had another shot at it from a crack standpoint to have another drive, but I wanted to kind of end the game with the ball in our hands from a mentality standpoint about activating some stuff from no huddle, putting guys in different spots, and also to try to force D'Amico to have to make calls on the fly versus get him time to get different guys in the game and substitute guys from a personnel package standpoint. So that was the overall thought process with that last drive, and obviously he made a bunch of huge plays. Our players did also.
Those long drives, how much more complicated does it get the deeper you get into those drives and you're showing more and the defense is seeing more kind of in that same drive?
I think it's a balance of, not getting talked out of stuff that's been successful for you throughout that drive and worried about coming back and repeating those same calls. I'm also trying to play a chess match with the opponent when it comes to him playing coverage, him bringing pressure. Had a couple ideal calls into some of his pressures, got the ball out pretty fast. To Chuba, for example, had the opportunity for him for an explosive pass play to get a first down. But also just trying to stick to the core we kind of built from a standpoint of throughout the week preparation-wise and trusting that on game day.
How would you assess your first game as play caller, the good and the bad?
We won. That's the most important thing I was focused on. That's obviously overall goal week in and week out. I'm super critical on everything that I do every single day, which is some good and bad with that. So nobody's going to criticize me more than I'm going to criticize myself. And so I've spent more time focusing on how can be better, how to improve than anything that went well. But again, the goal is always focus on how can I put this team, this offense, these players in the best spot to make plays for us. I put it on my shelf. So I had, got a bookshelf in my house on the right side, right in front of our TV, where there's a pretty nice trophy at the top of it. You can probably imagine what that trophy is. And so I'm putting that same shelf underneath that, which is a great step in the right direction for our overall program. Like I said before, it was a surprise for me to get that, and so appreciative for Frank giving me that opportunity. But I got a short-term memory when it comes to anything good or bad, so ready to move on for the Colts.
Did Frank, he didn't mention himself, did he get a game ball?
He did.
Okay.
He did. Yeah, he did.
Who presented it to Frank?
Mr. Tepper. As he should.
I was going to ask, as you were describing Bryce on our last drive, you mentioned how he never got rattled. And then yesterday, he essentially said the same thing of you, that you never flinched.
Yeah.
How much are the two of you feeding off of the other?
Well, we're joined at the hip. So when it comes to being a play caller, everything runs through his communication, his playing ability. So I'm not the type of person that necessarily gets rattled in general anyway. But during the game, I don't have time to think about anything other than plays anyway. Just when it comes to making adjustments, getting the play call in from a timing standpoint, so he can operate and do his thing. But I think it's definitely great to have like minds kind of together when it comes to our overall demeanor, but not just the two of us, our overall operation. Even Frank on the headset, his communication. Nobody ever got rattled. Nobody ever thought or felt defeat. It's been that way the entire season. So I think when it comes to our communication, us being on the same page, that'll bode well for us going forward.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank y'all. Have a great day.